Hello, friends. It is Friday on the beat, and what a glorious one it is. The Buckeyes about to get back to business, and more specifically, down to business in the Big Ten. A road game, an opener in the conference, and bold predictions are ready to dive right into it. Welcome to the Austin and Birm Show. I am Austin Ward. He is Jeremy Birmingham. We're about to hit the road, my friend. What a great time to be alive.
It's good to be back in real football games because it feels like that Texas game was a year ago, and then the last 3 weeks have just been like very rarely do I complain about like having to be at the job when it comes to this job because like we get to watch football for a living and talk about football for a living. But even like the Grambling game, I was like, man, do we really got to do this? And then the Ohio game, it's a night game, and you're like, really? A night game against Ohio? But this one feels like it lives up to the standard of what a Big Ten game should be. We know Ohio State is the most talented team in the league, and the Buckeyes are the number one team in the country and the defending national champion. But like in the Big Ten, there's 7 or 8 games that you could lose, and this is going to be one of those games where Ohio State needs to play its best. You can't go out there and just roll the helmet out. It's a national game on CBS. It's going to be in the loudest stadium in the history of college football. I've seen Washington Husky fans on Twitter this week saying that they're coming for the 133.6. Apparently 133.5 is the record set there as far as the noise. So like they're aware of it, and they want to make this a really challenging environment for Ohio State. Similar to the trip we took to Oregon last October. I think it's just cool that we get to experience a new place. The Big Ten expansion has certainly been, I don't know, kind of hit or miss as far as how people view it. But
Stupid.
So some would say stupid, but for us, like these opportunities to go to a new place and see a new stadium, and to be in a historic place like Husky Stadium is pretty freaking cool. So let's appreciate the opportunity and I'm not gonna even worry about the flight out there. I'm just gonna be calm. It's gonna be natural to just be in the Pacific Northwest. I've only been there once. Have you ever been to Seattle? How many times have you been to Seattle? I mean, you're a West Coast guy, so
easy now. I'm not a West Coast guy. Let's be careful with that terminology.
I know, but you're a soccer fan, so you've probably followed the Crew out there once or something to watch them play the Sounders, something weird like that.
We saw the national team play a qualifier at whatever they called that field where the Seahawks play. It changes names, I think, every single year. I do enjoy Seattle a great amount. I told you before the trip out to Oregon last year, I like Portland a lot too. The Pacific Northwest and the weather up there is just about perfect for me. It's shorts, it's quarter zips, and a sprinkling of rain to keep the grass green. I love all of it. And also, by the way, really good beer. So I'm excited for that on Friday night. And as you mentioned, you and I have not covered games at Husky Stadium before. So a very cool opportunity to go out there and see that. Hey, Ohio State, Washington, thumbs up. Ohio State, UCLA, thumbs down. But I don't have to worry about that today. We're talking about the Huskies, and I have some numbers to throw at you, Berm, that can carry over a little bit of the conversation from Thursday. We kicked off a Three Thoughts Thursday by looking at the spread. You mentioned that, and your conclusion was the nation hates Ohio State.
Maybe hates is the wrong word. Maybe disrespects is the more appropriate term.
Okay, but hold on to that. So I looked. The app I use, I won't name it because still nobody decided to offer me an endorsement deal between Thursday and Friday's show. But they break down where the money is at. And right now, well, at least the number of bets played. I guess I don't know where all the money's at because that could be an important factor here. 97% of bets being made. And by the way, the spread is, as of this moment, back up to 8.5 for Ohio State. 97% of the bets placed are on the Ohio State money line, 3% for the Huskies. 81% of the point spread bets are on Ohio State to cover 8.5, 19% for Washington. And the over-under, which is, as of this moment, 52.5, 82% on the over. That's not as relevant, but or it could be for the scores that we predict to kick off the show. But the vast majority, overwhelming majority of people not only believe Ohio State is still going to win this game, but also that they're going to cover that number.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. But I don't know. Do they allow gambling in the state of Washington? Like, are online sports books available in the state of Washington?
You have to, my understanding, don't ask me how I know this. I didn't do any advanced research before this trip. You have to go to physical locations, which are tied to, I believe, Indian reservations. So you can sports bet in the state of Washington, but on the place that I'm looking, I don't believe you'd be able to use that.
Right. So my assumption is that a large percentage of the 97% of Ohio State bets coming on the money line are coming from the state of Ohio. But
I don't think that's correct.
Well, I don't know anything about gambling, but I know that Vegas doesn't drop the line by 6 points for no reason, unless the people who are making the money, making the lines, think that there's a reason for it. So it's interesting. It has not, however, moved me from my initial thought process on the score prediction for this game. I'm still going to have Ohio State covering. I had said 38-24 on Monday when we did the live show at Roosters, powered by Tansky Power Sports. But I'm going to say 38-27. So Ohio State's going to cover the 8.5 if that's the line as of Friday morning, Thursday afternoon as we record this. So 38-27, give me Ohio State to cover and the over in a game that will feel closer than it is.
Okay. I have elected since earlier in the week to bump up the offensive production for Ohio State from where I had. And I might tack on an extra score for Washington as well. I think this is going to be an explosive game. I think Ohio State's defense can be really good and problematic and still give up points to the Huskies. I have the more we've seen, the more we've heard about not just what we've seen from Washington in those 3 games or Damon Williams last week, but the way Ohio State is preparing for him and the challenge that they see. I think this game is going to be pretty wide open. I don't respect Washington's defense enough to slow down Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and some others that we'll get into on bold predictions. But I think this one will be over as well, and I have Ohio State covering 41-20.
41-20 would be a fairly comfortable win for Ohio State. So I'll take it. I want your outcome, not mine.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is getting out to Seattle. But how will we get to that point? As I said, I think Ohio State's defense is going to make plays. And you might say, starting with a Caleb Downs bold prediction, that's pretty lame. So you better dial it up a notch, Austin, and I will. As we've looked at Damon Williams and who will spy, if Ohio State will spy, what they're going to do to slow down this multifaceted Washington offense. This is a game where so many times you look at Caleb Downs statistically, you look at the box score, and like his impact is not showing up statistically. And I think sometimes that impacts the national conversation around him. That will not be the case this week. I believe Matt Patricia is going to use the ultimate chess piece at his disposal to sometimes mirror Damon Williams, sometimes attack Damon Williams, sometimes confuse Damon Williams. And I'm thinking primarily of that play against Grambling where Caleb Downs lined up on the line of scrimmage, then dropped back into coverage, made an interception. I think something similar is going to happen throughout this game. And I believe that Caleb Downs will finish this game with 10 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble, and 3 tackles for loss.
That is drilling Downs. That's big right there. I think the most interesting thing about how Ohio State attacks this game and how it defends Damon Williams is the use of the spy, whoever it's going to be. I think that if they do, they're going to at points. I would be pretty stunned if they didn't do it at least part of the time. But
you and I were both told that we shouldn't make assumptions.
Yeah, but I also think that sometimes coaches want us to make assumptions and be wrong about them publicly. And then they can come out and do something that's unexpected. But Caleb physically is the best mirror for Damon Williams. It's, we look at Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles, and there's been a lot. I've talked about those guys a lot this week and their importance in this game and the ability to tackle Damon Williams and bring him down before he can really get to the second level of the defense, because I think that's a key part of this game. But when you're talking about spying someone that's a Kyler Murray-esque quarterback, one of the things that we were told on Wednesday was that if you're going to do that, it needs to be a guy that can move like that guy, because Damon Williams is athletic enough and fast enough and quick enough to get to top gear to even make someone like Arvell Reese feel slow or not necessarily slow, but you can
just lose a race. Just lose a race.
You can take the right angle. You can take the correct geometric approach to the play, and the guy can still beat you. And if someone like Caleb Downs, who's a little quicker laterally, a little bit faster at changing direction, or Caleb or Jalen McClain, I think can both be interchanged in that conversation as far as guys that maybe they will be used in that role, which certainly opens up a big day for Caleb. I mean, the play of the year last year, we talk about it all the time, and the Jack Sawyer scoop and score will be viewed as one of the most important plays in Ohio State football history. But that play happened because of Caleb Downs getting into the backfield and making a stop on a guy 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage 2 plays before it. So he has that sort of ability to impact the game, and certainly has the quickness to keep DeMond Williams in a phone booth. And if he can do that, the Buckeyes will win easily, I think.
Well, look at this. I start with Caleb Downs, and your first bold prediction is for Jeremiah Smith. We've really got to kick it up a notch, don't you think?
Big. Well, have you ever heard this? I was thinking about this morning, and I was trying to think of the right way to say it, but I've never heard anybody use these terms before. Big time players make big time plays in big time games. That's what I'm workshopping it. That's what I'm coming up with.
Let me think about it. So you need elite players to play at an elite level in the toughest games on the schedule?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, it's a theory I'm working on. I don't know. I've not talked to any coaches about it. I don't know if maybe what their take on it would be, but I think that that's a possible thing that happens this weekend, is that Ohio State's best players actually get utilized quite a bit in this football game. Jeremiah Smith played obviously the entire game against Texas, played a quarter roughly against Grambling State, set a new career high for catches in that game. Then played more against Ohio than probably we expected he would. And he's had a pretty good season. You know, he's already in this season set and become the second longest, or caught the second longest reception for a touchdown in Ohio State history, became the fastest player to 1,500 yards in Ohio State history. He is actually ahead of his pace for receptions from a year ago. And yet what I said on Monday or Tuesday's show about wanting to know why he's frustrated, I think it's something that's gnawing at him. And I said it earlier this week, and I'm going to stand by it. I think when we go into games and a lot of the conversation is about the receiver on the other side of the field, even though Jeremiah is not going up against that guy directly, something fuels him and motivates him a little bit more. And I just don't think that whether it's Takari Davis playing for Washington as we expect him to, or whether it's Ephesians Prysock, the other corner that they have, another 6'4" guy, I just don't think it's going to matter. I think Jeremiah Smith is going to do some special things in this game. I think we'll see Ohio State utilize him early in some of the slot opportunities that he's had, maybe on end arounds, et cetera, jet sweeps and stuff like that. I just think he's in for a big game. I think he's going to have 7 catches. I think he's going to have 140 yards, and I think he's going to score 3 touchdowns for Ohio State.
Ooh, buddy. All right. Well, I guess
this is you were talking about the Heisman stuff, and it's funny that we didn't really think about this game heading into Washington as an opportunity for Ohio State to really establish itself nationally, because you figure that they already would have done that by beating the number 1 team in the country to start the year. But I think people are overlooking Ohio State right now, and this will be an opportunity for the whole country to be reminded of what Jeremiah Smith is and why he is not just a good NFL prospect like Denzel Boston, but the best receiver on the planet. That's a big weekend for him.
Yeah, it is funny how it works. Ohio State has 1 off week and 2 tune-up games. And it's they're out of sight and out of mind. That applies not just to, even though they're number 1 team in the polls, but the individual awards races. It's you move on to the next shiny thing, and the Buckeyes were out of that conversation for 1 week, but they are going to be squarely in the national spotlight and broadcast across the country in a prime window on Saturday afternoon. So a big opportunity in front of them, and a big revenge opportunity here. It's
on the West Coast.
Revenge against the Pacific Northwest, specifically for Will Kacmarek. That catch that he made early on against Oregon, I believe it went for 31, 32 yards.
You have to do this.
It was a catch. It was upheld. Okay. Did they take it away?
No.
So is it in the record book?
Yes.
Did the officiating crew look at it?
Yes.
They're looking at every play. How dare you, sir?
I'm just saying. Look, I was on the field. He didn't catch that ball. It's fine. Sometimes things work out in Ohio State's favor. The officials got him back at the end of the game by not giving Will Howard a second left. So that game, it was like a
well, the get back was Jeremiah Smith being called
a bookended Will game. It was like Will give you something good, and then we'll take something away at the end.
Yes, that works perfectly. As part of this Will Kacmarek revenge tour of the Pacific Northwest, he's very good. And I think in the rush to project what Max Clare was going to do, and I'm not taking anything away from him or what he's going to provide down the road as he gets increasingly more comfortable, gets that usage, just got involved in the Ohio win for the Buckeyes before the off week. I think there's going to be opportunities for him as well, but I don't want to take what Will Kacmarek provides to the Ohio State offense for granted. He is another seam demon. We've seen him use there against Oregon last year and multiple times already this season. I believe Will Kacmarek, and again, it's tight end production. You don't go crazy with it. It's going to be 4 catches. It's going to be for 53 yards, and Will Kacmarek will score a touchdown, and he'll get to leave and fly home fully healthy. Knock on wood for him. I shouldn't jinx it by saying out loud, but I think that's going to be significant. He is a key cog for what Ohio State wants to do. It shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, he's been an important part of the Ohio State offense for the last 2 years in a number of different ways. And he's proven to be a pretty reliable pass catcher. He's not maybe the field stretcher that Max Clare can be or anybody else.
Field stretcher?
A field stretcher. Yeah, we need a field stretcher. He's not the field stretcher. I mean, I think Bobby Carpenter said the touchdown that he had against Grambling State on the opening drive of that game, like the last 40 yards was in like 5.10 seconds or something. I don't know, but Will is important. And what he does is it gives you an opportunity as Ohio State to showcase to recruits around the country a number of things you do with the tight end position. And when you can take a guy who had one offer coming out of high school from Ohio, let him develop for 2 years at a lower program, then come to Ohio State, and he's going to be an NFL tight end. He is as good a blocker as there is in the country, and he has proven to be a pretty reliable pass catcher, as I said. So when he gets the opportunity, he takes the most of it. He makes the most of it. And I just don't know how Washington can cover all these guys that Ohio State has without their top linebacker out there and having to decide how to bracket Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, because the interesting thing is Washington has played like exclusively man in the first 3 weeks of the season for them. I just don't see that they're going to do. Like, I know that the thought process is that's what they'll do. That's what Ryan Walters, their defensive coordinator, will do. But I just don't see it. And I think it's going to open up man matchups for guys like Will Kacmarek and Max Clare and Brandon Ennis. And that group, I think, is all in for a big game.
I'm just going to say it. If that's what Ryan Walters wants to do on Saturday afternoon, he is going to live to regret it. That would not be the way I would voluntarily defend Ohio State's skill talent. But I'm also not a coach or a defensive coordinator. So my opinion on that really doesn't matter. And it won't impact what Washington is going to do one way or another. I just personally wouldn't do it. I know that Ohio State will have some defensive plans cooked up for Arvell Reese, though. And so do you.
Washington has been very, very efficient on offense. I think they've scored on 21 straight drives. They haven't punted. They haven't done, they haven't made mistakes. They haven't turned the ball over. And one of the things they do very well is distribute the football. In 3 games, they've caught 53 balls, 16 of them to Denzel Boston, their top receiver. But beyond that, their leading receiver after Denzel Boston is Jonah Coleman, their running back, who is one of the best running backs in the country. And I think you're going to see them try some screen games, try to put Ohio State in a little bit of pressure and make them decide which guy to defend when it comes to Damon Williams or a guy like Jonah Coleman, whether that's an option type of play, whether that's a little misdirection and bootleg and naked stuff where you're looking for the running back out of the in the flat. And then they throw the ball a lot also to their H-back. He's a second-year guy, Decker DeGraff, a tight end. And I just think that those types of plays are going to end up being a prime opportunity for Arvell Reese to step in front of one and take a pick six. So it's a pick six weekend for Arvell Reese. he has become one of like the film people that are on social media, the people who break down film every week and show you a lot of the nuance of the game. Arvell has become like a pet project for a lot of them. Like, oh, look what he can do. And this is a week that I think will put his full talent on display. The speed, the versatility, the ability to get sideline to sideline. But more importantly for Arvell, and it's funny because when he was coming out of Cleveland Glenville High School, a lot of people really didn't anticipate that like football IQ was going to be the strength of his game. And he has just gotten so much better at seeing and diagnosing things. I just see a play coming in this game where Damon Williams thinks that he has a little safety valve out of the backfield. Maybe it's a little Texas route. I don't know. Give me something where they think Jonah Coleman's going to be open, and then whoop, there's Arvell, who was taking a decision to go from spy to bye in one play. And it's touchdown time for Arvell. That's all I'm saying. It's time. It's time for Arvell to make that play, and it's coming this week.
Somebody's thinking about that Butkus Award resume right there.
Yeah, you have to get it. These are the plays that matter. Again, Damon Williams has not turned the ball over yet this year, and there's going to be at least 2 in this game that Ohio State takes from him, and Arvell's going to get one of them.
Yeah, I mean, here's a little secret, because I took a bold prediction about Caleb Downs, and you took one about Arvell Reese. Colorado State and Washington State don't have players like that.
Yeah, that's ultimately the difference. Again, I talked about this on Snap Judgments and on Thursday's edition of The Beat, but the familiarity with the Ohio State defensive scheme, because Ryan Walters runs a very similar scheme, is all well and good, but it doesn't matter if you don't have these dudes in place. And Ohio State, what Arvell, what Sonny, what Caleb can do, and even guys like Caden Curry who can move all around. Like Ohio State has so many pieces that are flexible and that you can make a nightmare matchups for and with that. I don't think it matters how familiar Damon Williams is with the base of the defense.
Right. Yeah. Because there's still so many variations of that Ohio State can get to. We've talked throughout the week about the variations Ohio State could unleash in the backfield. And is this the week that Bo Jackson starts to emerge and take over and a larger share of carries coming his way? It is the stronger, I don't know, late game performance from James Peoples a sign of what's coming for him? And I think the move to look for these other 2 options is overlooking that CJ Donaldson was given twice the workload of anybody else in the Texas game. He has the trust of the coaching staff. He's a veteran of big games. He has been productive at the Power 4 level before, and he's been very good for Ohio State so far. Not flashy, not quite as explosive, but Ohio State trusts him to do every single thing that you could ask from a complete running back. And so I'm also factoring in a little bit just what we saw and maybe we overreacted to after practice on Wednesday night, Birm, which was that Bo Jackson had a little bit of protective covering on his knee. Didn't look like he was maybe at 100%. We don't know any severity. We've not heard anyone. It was
just like a sleeve. It wasn't a brace. It was a sleeve, but certainly did have a touch of ginger in the walk.
Yeah, wasn't walking as fluidly as normal. And maybe it's nothing. Could very well be nothing. Clearly, he practiced on Wednesday night, or at least he appeared to have. We didn't watch practice, and so that's just also factoring in my mind. But I would say this bold prediction, no matter what, because I think CJ Donaldson was the lead back for a reason against Texas, and Washington will be the same thing. He's going to get the first carry. He's going to get the most carries in this game for Ohio State. And I think that number is going to be 20 combined touches, probably 17 rushing attempts and 3 catches. And I think he's going to go for just barely over 100 yards, 105 yards, let's say. Maybe still not the most explosive, but there's going to be a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown for CJ Donaldson. So he's going to be the most productive running back in this game for Ohio State. That is my third and final bold prediction, and I stand by it.
Rushing and receiving, huh?
That's right. He should have had a receiving touchdown against Ohio.
Yeah, if he could have kept his feet in bounds.
No, if the ball had been thrown to him.
If the ball had been thrown to him. But no, CJ Donaldson, it's one of those guys, man, like every year.
Okay, so he should have had 2. He should have had 2 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. But he also should have had a rushing touchdown against Ohio if he didn't get pancaked at the 1 yard line. If he didn't get
fair,
pancaked by a drunk dump truck driver. But what you see out of CJ Donaldson is one of those stories that we're going to get every year, and I think you'll see a lot of them in the transfer portal era. where you bring in a guy to supplement a position group that needs some supplementation, somebody who's being brought in for experience, somebody who's being brought in for versatility, somebody who's being brought in to fill a depth chart. And then like there's a lot of talk about him because he's the new guy. And then he hits campus and all of a sudden everyone wants the newer new guy. And so like Bo Jackson's out there now, and you're going to see Bo as long as he's able to go, which again, we have no reason to think he won't be able to. The sleeve was new, but it didn't look like he was like incapable of moving. But CJ Donaldson, the experience, I think, is what matters the most here. This is a guy who's played in tough environments. He's handled the football in big games. He's run for 2,000 yards in college. He's not going to be frazzled by noise. He's not going to be frazzled by Washington moving their guys all around the field. And this is a game where you're going to need a physical running back to establish early that you are able to get the tough yards in this game if you're Ohio State. So I think CJ might be the right pick, like almost like running back roulette is how it's going to be the rest of the season, I think, for Ohio State. I know that there's a lot of people who want to believe Bo Jackson's just going to be the starting tailback by the middle point of the season and then never look back. But I really think that this is going to stay a by committee approach. And I think that this week feels like the right time for a CJ Donaldson game.
Whew, got you on my side. I love that. Also, it has me concerned.
Yeah, it should be. I think obviously Washington, a lot of the discussion this week has been about Denzel Boston, the wide receiver, the 6'4" wideout from Washington, who has been putting up some big numbers, had a really nice game last week in the Apple Cup. One thing that I think is interesting in the discussion about Jeremiah Smith this week is that he was talking about how Davison Igbinosun as a longer corner has helped him prepare for playing against guys like Takario Davis and Ephesians Prysock. So I don't think Davison Igbinosun is going to be challenged that much by the physicality of Denzel Boston. And I don't think he's going to be that worried about the length of Denzel Boston because Davison is one of the longest corners in the country. And if you go back to that Pacific Northwest visit a year ago, like Ohio State's defense got torched by Dylan Gabriel in the deep ball. It was never Davison Igbinosun getting torched. I think that is worth noting. He played that game was a pretty darn good game for Davison against a really elite group of wide receivers at Oregon. Yeah. I think this is a one-on-one matchup, and Ohio State doesn't normally let their corners travel with guys, so we'll see what Washington does to mix things up and keep Boston away from Davison Igbinosun. But I think that Davison Igbinosun gets his first interception of the season this weekend, and I think he holds Denzel Boston to under 50 yards receiving.
The bad news for them is if they're trying to get away from Davison Igbinosun, then Jermaine Matthews is on the other side, and there's also a growing threat from Devin Sanchez, who was, did he spend 45 minutes after practice with Matt Patricia on Wednesday night? Felt like it was that long. I mean, we've talked about that with the nickel rotation and Lorenzo Styles, fully expected to play on Saturday against Washington, but Jermaine is not as lengthy as IGB, obviously, but Devin Sanchez has that ability to go match up. And do you want to throw him out there right now in game 4 against Denzel Boston? Hey, maybe not. I mean, they trusted him against Texas, and I didn't think that was going to happen either. So keep that in your back pocket as well. It seems like there's a continued push to get Devin Sanchez out there.
Yeah, well, that length is what, it's different. It's rare. That's what everyone's looking for at corner. Neither Davison Igbinosun or Devin Sanchez are 6'4" like Prysock and Takario Davis are, but Devin Sanchez is just a hair under 6'3". So that he's a guy that again has been challenging Ohio State this weekend, and their receivers, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, have probably had their fair share of Davison Igbinosun and Devin Sanchez in their shirts. So that sort of thing matters. And when you get an opportunity to get out there, if you're Davison Igbinosun, this is an NFL test. This is, you came back to Ohio State for this season because you want to be a first round pick. Outside of the guys you play in practice, is Ohio State going to face another wide receiver with this potential all season long? I don't know that they will, at least not in the regular season.
No.
So this is as good a test as he's going to get. And the mindset we've seen out of Davison, the approach, the maturity this offseason and heading into the 2025 season has been noticeable. And I think he's on tap for a big game, and under 50 yards and an interception for him to really clamp down the Washington offense. And I actually think I'm more concerned about Washington scoring points on the ground than I am them beating Ohio State through the air regularly.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. This is certainly a matchup that is worthy of the spotlight, and national broadcast will provide it on CBS. It'll be 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Can't wait to get out to Seattle. It is a travel day for the Austin and Birm Show, so we'll be heading out there. We're going to be part of a special pregame show on 10 TV on Saturday. We will also have the pregame keys once we arrive out there early on Saturday morning Pacific time. But just couldn't be more excited. It's a big one. Buckeyes are back. It doesn't just feel like a year since the Texas game, but it has felt like a month since they played football.
That was Ohio.
All.
They played Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that feels, you said a year since Texas. It feels like a month.
It feels long. It's kind of crazy how relative time is, Should we get into that? Should we get into the theory of time and relativity? I've only been to Seattle once. And that was when I went to visit Emeka Ibuka as 2 weeks before he made his high school or his college announcement. So it's been a while. Kind of crazy.
Well, we're going to be out there. We're going to take part in some road beers. There won't be any evening coverage on Friday, though. Travel day. It's going to be a little jam-packed. So next time we talk to you, we'll be at Husky Stadium on Saturday. We hope you guys have a fantastic, guys and gals, hope you have a fantastic weekend. And we'll be talking to you when we get out to the West Coast. We will see you there. For Birm, I am Austin. This has been Freaky Friday, bold predictions on the Austin and Birm Show. So long.